Good morning, everyone. It's Dinna Eckstein, and we are doing our first podcast, video podcast. So welcome to Designing Woman, and I'm joined by a panel of lovely realtors, as well as my co-host, Natalie Piles. Good morning, Natalie.
Good morning, Dinna.
How are you?
Good. I'm jealous I'm not there with you, though. You are having a little party.
I know we are. We are. I hope that you're able to come down next month. Or really, yeah, I'm hoping that. I might have to buy you a ticket just to come down here. Natalie, it's exciting. This is the first time we're doing it on video, as well as having a panel of more than one person. So, what do you think? This is cool. Have you met everyone?
No, can we go around the circle? I want to put names with faces.
Sure. Why don't we start over here? Kim?
Hi, I'm Kim Wimbs. I'm an agent here in the Roswell area primarily, and I'm with the Keller Williams office.
Hello, I'm Jaycie Mirabella. I am an agent with the Reid team in North Fulton primarily, and we are also with Keller Williams.
Oh, okay.
I'm Erin Waggener. I'm with Coldwell Banker, and I primarily work in Alpharetta and Milton, but the surrounding cities too.
I'm Jenny Doyle. I'm with Atlanta Fine Homes, Sotheby's, and we work really just the Milton area and some in the Canton and Western.
Very cool. Thank you, ladies. And the reason I asked all of you is because you are in different, not only, I wouldn't say different areas, but you have been in different journeys with your realtor career. So I'd like to get everyone's, different points of view and see where we are. I've met all of you through one way or another. Kim actually was the person who found our house when we moved here. Jaycie, I met you recently when we opened up the store. And Erin, we met through Facebook, and we have been good network friends. And actually, I was trying to get her to be this manager of the store before she became a realtor, and her career took off. And then Jenny, we met through here when you sponsored our event and other things, and we've been friends ever since. So that's very exciting. Now, Natalie is in Salt Lake City, right?
Yep, way over in the west.
So Natalie joins us all the time, and here we go. We do this once a week. The podcast comes out on Wednesdays. And so, I think it's important. As you know, I'm an interior designer. I've been an interior designer for quite a while. And then I opened up the store. It's almost been a year. November 15th will be our 1-year anniversary. So it's been a journey to come here. My family moved to Milton in 2020. So I'm originally from Northern Virginia, up in Loudoun County. And then we had to move to Texas for a little bit. My husband's in ExxonMobil. So when they closed the Fairfax store location, we had to move to Texas. And I found out I didn't like it very much. So we moved to Orlando. My son and I rented a home in Orlando. And my husband would commute back and forth between Texas and Orlando, and we would do the same. And then when he was close to having an early retirement, we were fishing. We were already fishing before he knew about the early retirement. And I asked a Facebook group called Empowering Women for Real Estate. And I said, hey, if there's a space that's very much like Roswell, which is where I moved from, that is small town feel, close to the city culture, so we can get to places and the beach and everything else, that is in the South, because we didn't want to do the weather anymore like everybody else. Where would you go? My thing is small town, has culture, progressive, enjoyable, and they said, check out Roswell, Alpharetta area, and we did. We took a weekend without my son. We went and we stayed at Avalon. And it was like a night and day difference between when I remember going to Rumi's that weekend, and I went to the restroom and I started talking to a lady, just small talk while we were washing our hands. And then she said something and I said, yes, we're here on the scouting trip trying to find a home. And she started telling me about all the communities and about the school systems and how great they are, et cetera. And we opened a 25-minute conversation in the restaurant. My husband was wondering where I was. But there was such a difference between, it was like being back home in Loudoun County where you had a conversation at every store. You know, you buy a cup of coffee, it's going to be a 15-minute event. It's not just in and out. And so when I opened up the store, when we moved here, it was great. Then we moved in 2020, April 2020, and everything was shut down. And the only people I knew were the people from Target. So, and then I met a networking team and started doing that. Then I decided my husband retired and I wanted to always open up a store. And at that time, Crab Apple was still very, nothing was open and they had just built the area. So I was the second store on the street that opened up. And I'm loving it. I love the community. I love the people. They come in with the dogs. And you know this. You're right here in Crab Apple as well, right, Jenny? So how long have you been in this area for work and in?
We've been here, I guess, about 8 years. We built a house here 8 or 9 years ago, and then we sold that and we got another house, but we stayed in the area. We wouldn't live anywhere else. We thought about moving to Nashville and did a whole live in Airbnb and try it, and we knew we wanted to be here. So
Now, how long have you been a realtor? What is your journey like?
So I guess about 21 years now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right out of high school then.
No. But, yeah, I went to Georgia and then graduated, and actually I paint. So I had to do a coffee shop, and then coffee wasn't really something that you would make anything with. So I ended up doing a bar. So I had a bar.
Oh, cool.
And then so that was interesting for about 2 years, and then taught 4th grade children with autism, which is what my degree is.
Wonderful.
And then I got it.
I'll send my son to you every once in a while when he gets to be too much. He's lovely. He hangs out here at the store a lot. So yeah, and he's coming up later. My husband has to go to an appointment, so he has to come up later. So were you always now you have your own group, you lead your group, Jenny Doyle group, right? And so how did you go from owning a bar to being a realtor?
So then I taught, and then just thought about, I got into helping a builder to develop floor plans and changing things, doorways, and making laundry rooms better, and just different things like that. And I loved it. And then got into real estate and just was with Keller for 10 years. And then I guess 10, 11 years ago, joined Sotheby's. So it's been great. Now we have a team. There's 7 of us, and that's fun. It's a whole new chapter. And
how long have you had the team?
We have been together. The team formed actually with COVID. Everybody was coming to our area.
Yes.
From in town. So that I couldn't do everything. I was doing the work of 7 people. So now there's 7 of us. So we all work together, and we actually around the corner, we have a barn that we have our team working at us. So that's fun.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So Erin, we met through Facebook, and then I asked you to join us for one of my ladies' brunches at my house.
Yes.
And we just hit it off.
Yeah.
So, and at that time, you were just beginning your real estate journey.
I was, yes, I had just been licensed, and just in the process of figuring it out, because I had a bunch of different jobs that I was doing. I was freelancing in a lot of areas. I'm a fine artist, so I'm doing murals and decorative finishes, landscaping design. I'm a beekeeper.
She rescues bees.
Oh.
And here comes Jonathan. Let's ambush him.
Hello.
Hey, come on in. No, you're already on. Look, you're on the video. You got
Podcast.
You just. Where are you going? Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, so I was just piecing a bunch of things together, but except for the bees, they all fed into real estate, and sometimes the bees do come in handy too in real estate. So yes, I was newly licensed, but it's
And that was 2 years ago?
yeah, almost 2 years ago. But fortunately, I changed offices, and after I did, things took off. And all of my eggs are pretty much in the real estate basket now. I still take very select jobs if my schedule affords, but I'm loving real estate around here.
And I do call on Erin. There's been a few fireplace projects because she does lime washing and other things like she said, finishes.
Yeah.
So yes, when she can, and if she, not doing her real estate, she will help me on a project. So that's where we know each other. And she has great honey. You need honey, ask Karen. Jaycie.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm good.
Thank you for joining us.
Thanks
Let us
for having
hear
me.
about you a little bit.
Yeah, I have been licensed for about 14 years. So I've been
Okay.
selling real estate for about 14 years. I was an individual agent, really pretty much my entire real estate career until just recently joined on with the Reid team, which is located here just right around the corner in Crabapple, to really be their buyer specialist for
Okay.
buyers in the area. That really is the niche part of the job that I love. And so over the years, I grew to realize like, that's really what I like to do. And so I'd really like to just focus on that. And so, yeah, that's my role on the Reid team.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Kim, Miss Kim. So I met Kim because she was my realtor. She's the one who found us our home. She showed us 23 houses in one weekend with my son.
It was a marathon.
It
was a
so
marathon.
tired and exhausted. I'm surprised that we even like each other right now. So
I still
she's
remember the
been with
last
us.
picture, the last house that we saw that weekend, because there was a beautiful sunset and it was like the ending of the finale of our journey that weekend.
Yeah.
And I took a picture and I posted it.
Yeah, it was a beautiful place, but we actually didn't end up getting that one.
No.
So tell us about your journey into real estate.
Sure. My background is really in sales, medical, pharmaceutical sales. I did that for a long time. And then I became a stay-at-home mom. And then my husband travels a lot for work. And I was like, I don't know what job I can do when my husband travels all the time. And now I have children in the picture. And so I really needed something that took the sales side in along with the flexibility. And then that migrated into real estate because we were buying and selling a home. And I was like, I can do this. Like, I can do this. Cause I even wrote up my own description for for the agent we were working with. I wrote my own description for my house because I didn't like it. So I was like, I can do this. And I got my license after hours, after the kids went to bed, and I just did it online. And I've been in the business now for 4 years, and I can finally say that at 42 years old, I have found my profession.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I'm not in real estate, but I'm enjoying my store because it gives me both the design element as well as the retail element. And I'm a crazy person. I do love retail. Because I like people. I love talking to people. And I love children. So I get to have a lot of kids through the store. So I'm glad everybody is here, that, you're in different journeys, but it seems like everybody's very comfortable. And this is your passion in regards to career. Is that right? Are you guys?
Yes.
Do you guys think that you'll move away from this career? Aside from retiring and things of that sort?
She's thinking about it.
So, okay. Since 2020, there have been a lot of different things. Obviously, it's unprecedented. Unprecedented. How has the market changed from 2020 to now? Like 2020 to 2021, we were, from what I understand, I'm not in business, we were soaring, right? I mean, things where you couldn't keep inventory in the market. I know for some reason, my business, my industry, just everybody was home and they were tired of looking at what they needed or they had. And instead of putting it off, they're like, okay, we have to do something. We can't go, vacation. So I'm going to spend my money on here. How did that, how are we now compared to last year? Does anybody want to?
I think the more fascinating point is maybe not where we were last year to where we are now, but almost like where we were 3 months ago to where we are now.
Yes.
Okay.
Because I would say those 2 years of the pandemic were, like you said, unprecedented. Like you didn't even have to put a sign in the yard to sell it for way over asking. We've had in just in the last 24 hours, as far as like pulling stats, there were 300 price reductions in the Metro Atlanta area. That's more price reductions than pending homes. So that's not something we would have seen last year.
Or really even in the spring or early summer.
Right. Even like 3 to 6 months ago, we wouldn't have seen that. So just, I would say since June, maybe it's had this shift into a whole new world where we're like, wait, what's this? We can actually like make negotiations.
Yes.
So it's changed just in the last 3 to 6
It's
months.
changed
For you,
quickly.
it's great, being a buyer's agent.
It is. We're starting to see some opportunity on the buy side that we have not seen in 2 years. Like, you know, contingencies, due diligence,
Inspections.
appraisals. It
Survey.
survey. Yeah, I mean, we don't have to be there within the first 6 hours of the house going on the market. It's given buyers a little bit of breathing room, which I think is good, and it's stabilizing the market a little bit. I think it's actually probably a good thing because it, at least in the spring, from my perspective, it was a little bit out of control. It was a frenzy. It was bidding wars were crazy, and so on the buy side, I welcome it a little bit.
So this is
But,
really interesting. I want to
yeah.
segue really quickly.
Yeah.
And then we'll go back onto the subject. But what is the difference between a buyer's and a seller?
So,
Agent.
so the buyer's agent is going to work exclusively with the buyers, representing them, showing them houses, writing the contract, negotiating on their behalf. The seller's agent, the listing agent, is working with the seller, listing the home and representing the seller's interest. So there's an agent working with the buyer and the agent working with the buyer.
Okay. And can you be both? Are you
can.
able to be both?
Yes.
Okay.
You often see that in a team dynamic
Okay.
where they have
Yes.
specialties. As an individual agent,
You do both.
we
both.
do all of it.
You do all of it.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it. All right. So I just wanted to clarify that for people who are just beginning to look and have never worked with
Yes.
agents before. So
Yes. You could be an individual agent, list houses, work with buyers, do all of it.
and so for you, it's been great. What about you over here? Has a
The big turn that we saw, we researched numbers a lot, was and from June to August. So looking and tracking the price per square foot, the price per square foot in our zip code here went from 361 per square foot down to 255. So it was almost $100 a square foot drop
right.
within that period, but people didn't realize, and I think to your point,
Mhm.
with all the price drops, it's the way we've seen it historically, sellers are kind of 6 months behind and buyers are 6 months ahead. So what we're seeing is sellers are trying those old prices because they know that their neighbors or the farm that's like theirs sold for X amount in February, March, or April. So they're like, you know what, let's give it a shot. And there's smart agents that are saying, all right, we'll give that 30 days, we'll give it 45 days, which is kind of where our timing is now, that appraisers are saying sale times are 30 to 45 days. You know, there's still the charming ones or the underpriced ones that shoot out, but agents are giving a time period to try that price and then they're correcting. So that's been a big part of it. And then the other thing that I don't think people realize, the same time in that June period that interest rates hit was also the time that private schools, you had to commit. So it was
Yes.
twofold. And that's the one thing not talked about. Everybody talks about rates, but I think with us, especially in like the higher price points, which tend to be a little bit more private school, we saw a halt. So instead of we have to find something to commit to private school, they had to commit to those Buckhead or Sandy Springs private schools. So now they're in a rush. They're going to stay home. They're going to be there. So now that I think that spring may be better for us because those people are sort of back around. So.
And that's an interesting point. I never thought about the private school and well, any school, you want to lock it in, you know, and get your student in there, but that's an interesting concept, is that when you work with the whole package in regards to, okay, we need this, we need this, we need this, we need this, and we have a time frame. So June is very different than going into August or something that someone, you know, later on.
Now it's the relocation buyers. That's everything that we're seeing now.
Right. This is the time when, and I know that we had to
Yeah.
relocate. So it was always like the late fall into December. You know, and then you usually move. And for me, it was like always Why that time period? Is there a reason that?
Fiscal year, getting them in before the
Mhm.
start of the new year.
Mhm.
And they can
Um,
travel during the holidays to do their scouting for their
Mhm.
homes.
Yeah, I know, instead of giving them time to come, we had to do it on
Yeah.
our own. Erin, what about you? When do you see the difference between the last 3 months? Like, are you?
I think that point on the schools, this is such a family oriented area and. In the spring and the summer, that fuels a desperation for families, especially if there are particular school districts they want to get in. They are more desperate to secure that house, so they'll throw bigger numbers. They will be more competitive. So we saw a big feeding frenzy with the spring and the summer, and I think that's primarily fueled by families doing it for their kids. They find that family home, and so they're far more aggressive. But now the people. Inventory has slowed down, sales have slowed down because the interest rates have risen. And if you don't have to move, people are pausing and hesitating.
Now, are you seeing with that 3 month shift and 3 months change? This seems to be something that I recognize from years past, when we had the typical years prior to 2020, where it slows down in right about the school time, and then it, kind of picks up again right in January into the early spring market into that. Is that what you're seeing? Is this reminiscent then of what it was prior to 2020? Do you think, or do you think it's a
Yeah.
new brand of?
I think we may see the seasonality that we saw prior to 2020. It was once 2020 hit that year, for sure, there was no seasonality. I mean, it just kind of was the same from my experience most of the year, but we might start to see that a little bit. That I think that could be.
I think an important topic too is to touch on what Jenny was saying with schools. Right now, North Fulton's going through a redistricting,
Yep.
Yes.
which everyone's either worried that they're going to be redistricted to a school that they don't find as favorable and will want to try to sell to get out of it. But I think everyone's almost on a pause because they want to see what's going to happen. They don't want to buy in a district that's not the one that they're going for versus another. So I think that that's also maybe some of the pause for people who are local and know more about what's going on in the community, because this is a hot topic right now. And I do think that maybe a pause button has been put on just to see how it pans out.
Yep.
Now, are you, are all of you just residential? Do any of you work in commercial at all?
No.
Once in a while, I'll help someone, but usually get
Residential.
another person.
And what a percentage, is it family versus, like a single person? In this area that you work with, because it is a very family oriented. I want to talk a little bit about Milton in just a little bit, but what is your percentage? Do you work mostly with families?
I would say I do in this area. It is mostly families. Schools are a big driver, more space. People will move out of outside the perimeter for school for multiple reasons, but schools, more space, yard space, just that sense of community. So I find that it is mostly families. But sure, I mean, we of course work with everyone, but
Right, of course.
but generally in this area.
I found that the singles that I work with do tend to be empty nesters.
Okay.
So
Yes.
That's
so
very
they
good.
had their families.
Yes.
Yeah.
And now they're single.
Yeah, and then we have a lot of people downsizing too. So a lot of empty nesters are starting to downsize and look for that smaller property. So we have several of those happening right now too.
So all of you guys work in obviously all price ranges with all sorts of people. But what is the price range that is selling faster to you? Because I know there's always been a pattern, like the 300 to 500 always, we couldn't keep it in, or, the 800s are a little slower and things of that sort. So what is the price range that you feel right now in our community, in the North Fulton area, that is one that's going faster than all the rest? Is there such a thing, or is it just all over the place right now?
I think it's very different from even just crossing over from Roswell over into Milton. There's just a different price point threshold. I think Roswell, the hot spot's always going to be, 500 to 700, because those aren't as easily found. And I think, Milton coming over to this side, the price points start even higher than that. So
Do you agree to that?
That very similar numbers. What popped into my head was the 500 to 800. I mean, that's considered nice but affordable family home for this area.
Jenny, I know you work also a lot with more luxury homes and in the Buckhead area and things of that sort. What is the price point that is usually out here in that area that is?
Seems to be, since everything has slowed a bit, that the 2 million plus was
Okay.
really slowed. And when you get over 2 million, people really don't want to compromise. So if the lot isn't perfect or the house is lacking charm, then I think it will sit. And I'm starting to see people do more improvements and things like that, because the market has turned staging and really putting more emphasis into that. But anything we work more in that like million to 5 million range. So it's that 1 to 2 is really still hot. And as long as you don't have like something wrong, or if you have an on-grade yard and you have a pool, those are like the two things that people will compromise on other things, to get an on-grade yard or get a pool. So
From what I understand, it sounds like the market is neutralizing. It's becoming quote unquote normal again prior to 2020. If there is something for everybody, it's no longer, prices are all up, and as a seller's market is an even playing field for everybody. Is that what I'm hearing now?
It's balancing.
Yeah, it's balancing. Yeah.
Okay, good. And is there any last minute tips on marketing on what to when you're working with a buyer or a seller? Give me 2 tips, one for each other. And I know you're a buyer agent, but what is your tip for a person that wants to buy a home in this market right now? And we're talking October 2022. So
The inventory still is low, so they may not get the perfect fit for them. They're not going to have the pick of the litter, so to speak. So if they are intent on buying, that they need to have some compromises, being willing to take some compromises on a home that they want to purchase and maybe fix up something here and there to get the house to be what they want. So
okay,
just
and what
setting the
about for a seller?
expectation. For a seller, get rid of the mindset of 2020 because things have shifted and to price the house a little bit more competitively if they want to sell as quick as possible.
JC?
Yeah. It's still a very good market for sellers. So I don't want to give the misconception that, it's not a seller's market anymore, because it is. We have low inventory. So sellers they still have a good opportunity, but they do need to be mindful that their neighbor's house bid 10% over, they're probably not going to get that price. So they need to just price correctly, I think, and make sure the home shows well. And it seems like everybody wants move-in ready these days. So it needs to be clean and pretty and ready for the buyers. On the buy side, recognize that there's opportunity now. So you may be able to have a sale contingency in there or have a due diligence in there that you may not have gotten this spring. So maybe now you're like, I actually might want to move. If I can get a sale contingency and then sell my home after I get another home under contract. So I think there's more opportunity for buyers in that sense. And there is limited inventory, so you might have to get creative and, find some off-market properties. I mean, we do things like that. So it's just more opportunity for buyers than there was previously earlier in the year.
Thank you. Erin?
So for selling, price it a little lower than you think and put a little more work into it than you think. I do feel like the houses that are in move-in ready condition and are priced correctly, they're still having bidding wars. There are still multiple offers on them and they're going within the first 10 days. So if you put the work in for it to be gorgeous and to be stunning, and if it's priced correctly, that pays off. On the buyer's end, just be willing to adjust your expectations where, yes, if you can have some creative vision and see past the not on trend paint colors, then there is opportunity to be had. But if you are insistent on having the gorgeous house, you still have to compete.
Ms. Doyle?
I think for sellers right now, it's so important to look back. If you look back a year ago and look at that pricing, the price is a little bit better now. So the market is up from a year ago, and just not to look at those prices of the spring or even get discouraged, or if you look at them and look at a house that came on at $1 million and was bid up to 1.2, it's probably $1 million house now. And I think we're really seeing, that it's better from a year ago. So that's great. So we're doing a little bit more normal now. And then just staging is really key. Doing a lot of staging, whether that be painting or new countertop. And then just furniture. A lot of houses, we take out all the furniture and put all new furniture in, and paint make a big difference. And then for buyers, I think to your point, the off market, once you can really narrow down what you want and you take the time to figure out the exact neighborhood or the exact style, going out and finding those off market is big. I'd say half of what we sell buyer wise is off market. So putting the time to write the letters or door knock, or even have our clients, we're not allowed to legally write letters and put the cute little picture of you from 4th of July and your family and, write your.
I've done that before.
You can do it as a homeowner. Yes. We can't legally do it, but I know it does work for the actual buyer to do that if they want to go.
Oh, heartstrings,
Yeah.
Well, thank you, ladies. And I really appreciate this because the market has changed so many times in the last 2 years and where we are now. And I think a lot of people, homeowners, are very interested in where they are without, and a lot of our apprehensive to call and talk to someone because they feel that there's an obligation. So this is very enlightening for them, and that's what I wanted to succeed with in this, and I believe we were successful. So thank you very much. And so this is Dinna Eckstein with Natalie, saying goodbye until next week. Thank you, and we hope you join us again for the next Designing Women podcast.